For decades, the creature who would one day be known as General Grievous considered himself the greatest warrior the galaxy had to offer, as even his people worshipped him as a demigod. However, after discovering the Jedi Order, Grievous witnessed their skill in combat, but also their peculiar ability to tap into something beyond the physical realm of existence, something they called the Force. Fascinated, Grievous resolved to learn how to use this strange phenomenon, even requesting that the Jedi teach him how to use this Force. However, Grievous quickly discovered he was incapable of doing so, as he lacked the necessary connection to tap into and as a result successfully utilized the Force. Infuriated because of this, Grievous instead chose to prove his superiority over the Jedi despite lacking this connection and submitted himself to the Sith Lords Count Dooku and Sidious for alterations that would allow him to not only compete with, but butcher the Jedi that once denied him of his wishes. But what if this was not the case? What if General Grievous did have a connection to the Force and was able to use it? What would the galaxy look like as a result? Still worshipped as a god and a warlord, Grievous's reputation would be galaxy-spanning, a Kaleesh warrior not only naturally talented in the art of war, but also able to tap into and use the Force to achieve his goals. However, his abilities would be unrefined, and Grievous would lack the deeper understanding and mysteries of his abilities. Upon witnessing a Jedi Knight in action, Grievous would approach them for training, being brought to the Jedi Temple for evaluation, despite being older than is common for a Jedi Knight. Standing before the Jedi Council, Grandmaster Yoda would sense the true nature of Grievous's soul and his desire to stand above the rest and conquer. Because of this, and his reputation as a warlord and conqueror, Grievous would be denied the training of a Jedi Knight. Returning home, Grievous would be overcome with hatred, as he believed no order had the right to ignore the requests of a god. Organizing Kaleesh forces, Grievous would set his sights on the Jedi Temple, resolved to destroy the Jedi Order, specifically their leader Yoda, for his lack of vision and disrespect. Days before departure into war though, a mysterious man would come to Grievous, only calling himself Tyrannus. This Tyrannus would tell Grievous he could in fact be trained to use the Force, and that the Jedi did often cast out what they did not fully comprehend, citing their fear as their inevitable downfall. Tyrannus would also tell Grievous though that things did not often topple on their own, that they required the necessary push, and although the Jedi were fools, Tyrannus counseled Grievous not to underestimate them. Tyrannus then opened Grievous's eyes to another part of the Force he had only briefly stepped in before, electrocuting him with Force lightning and forcing him to the ground. Not only experiencing his rage, but pain, Grievous lifted his hands into the air, as Tyrannus would be flung from the ground in which he stood, landing gracefully about 10 feet away from the Kaleesh warlord. Grievous would only utter one thing: "Show me." "I will, my friend," Tyrannus would respond, "but first, you must commit yourself fully to what I have to offer. Even now, as you stand the leader of your people and a powerful warrior, you lack the power to truly achieve your potential. You will need to submit to certain alterations." Side note, before Grievous even became a cyborg, this was Count Dooku's plan, and it was always his plan. I believe that this part of the story would not actually change, but that Dooku would still want to alter Grievous. If we remember, Dooku had a scientist already lined up to operate on Grievous, and he had made all the necessary preparations before his injuries. I believe here, Dooku would desire a true apprentice, but also one that the Jedi would not expect. In my version of events, I have chosen not to make Grievous extremely Force sensitive, but still for him to have some of a connection, thus the need for alterations remaining within the story. "I will submit," is all Grievous would say. "Good, then you have taken your first steps. Now, let us begin," Tyrannus would respond. Tyrannus would point to the Kaleesh forces behind Grievous and say simply, "Kill them." Shocked, Grievous would look at the Count. "Kill them?" He would respond in a clearly shaken voice. If one is to become a Dark Lord, certain things need to be set in place, such as one's commitment to the Order and a dark show of loyalty, one that cements them forever down the path to the dark side. Another side note, this is a very common thing for Sith Lords. In fact, Dooku, to prove himself to Sidious, was forced to kill his closest Jedi friend and Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, while others, like Kylo Ren for example, proved their darkness when he killed his father. Here, Grievous is being forced as those Dark Warriors were to let go of all but the darkness. Dooku would then reach to his waist and remove twin lightsabers. "You will do so with these, the weapon of both the Jedi and the Sith." "A small group will do, my friend," Dooku would comment. "The rest will be destroyed by your future comrades in orbit." Grievous would hesitate for a moment, then reach for the lightsabers, activating them and doing what the Count instructed, butchering his men with twin crimson blades. After this, much would occur as did in regular continuity. Grievous would undergo extremely physical alterations, although they would be varied from much of his other depictions, as he would retain more of his original body. Grievous would also be given the blood of the dead Jedi Sifo-Dyas, but this time the midichlorian-rich blood would take to Grievous's and grant him power in the Force. Even more so than before, as the experiments on the cyborg would be far more advanced below the surface than ever before, not just being physical. Secretly, the Dark Lord of the Sith Sidious would request a single alteration to Grievous his apprentice would not be made aware of. The events of the Clone Wars would be close to as were in regular continuity, with Grievous taking over more of the roles of Ventress and himself in the original continuity, even being made Dooku's full-time apprentice here. One day, a hologram would appear before Grievous, beckoning him to come to the planet of Geonosis, but the figure within the hologram would be one showered by the dark side, a figure Grievous had learned to fear. Venturing to Geonosis, Grievous would be greeted by his master Dooku. "You are about to be privy to a great honor, my apprentice," Dooku would comment with a smile. "You have grown powerful. I am proud not only to call you my student, but my monster." The two would walk down a hallway as at the far end of the corridor, blast doors would part, revealing the dark-robed figure seated before them. Instinctually, Dooku and Grievous would kneel, even feeling the great power of the Dark Lord before entering the room. "You have done well," Sidious would comment. "My apprentice has grown powerful and proven himself a gifted teacher of the dark side of the Force." "Thank you, my master," Dooku would respond. Sidious would pause for a moment. Perhaps too well gifted for his own well-being. Dooku would slowly raise his head. "Your creation has grown most powerful, my servant, more powerful than perhaps even you." Dooku would stand. He is nothing more than a tool, something to be cast aside when done with. Clear anger would permeate from the words that exited the Count's lips. Dooku immediately regretted his outburst, expecting to be brought to his knees immediately by the power of Sidious. But all was silent. "We will see, my apprentice," is all Sidious would say. "Rise, Grievous. Show your master how well he has done." Immediately, twin lightsabers would activate as Grievous would lunge towards Dooku in a stabbing motion. Flipping backwards, in mid-jump, Dooku's curved lightsaber would fly from his belt to his palm as he would gracefully land across the room. Grievous would twirl his twin lightsabers in the air as a show of power, as the Count raised his deactivated lightsaber to his face and switched on the emitter shroud as the blood-stained blade glowed to life. Grievous again would make the first move, raising one weapon across his chest, while again engaging the Count with the other. Grievous's assault would be swift and unrelenting, raining blow after blow against Dooku. Dooku, though, would stand strong, gliding around the room with his use of Form 2, Makashi. Dooku would then spot an opening as he noticed the smallest of weaknesses in Grievous's form, that being that every third sequence was the same. Dooku recalled the style. He knew it well. It was in fact his own. He would recognize the grace from anywhere. More importantly though, not only did Dooku know how to use it, but also how to stop it. As Grievous cycled again into Makashi, the Count made an uncharacteristic move, moving offensively towards Grievous and meeting him with a powerful head-on assault. The uncharacteristic assault on behalf of Dooku staggered Grievous and he would begin to retreat, but the Count could smell blood in the water, mustering all his power and smashing his weapon against the generals. Then, suddenly, with the ease and grace of a dancer, Grievous's arm would be gone. Dooku then would quickly force-pull Grievous's other weapon from his grasp, throwing it across the room. "Stop!" Sidious would roar as Dooku moved to commit a final blow against Grievous. Dooku would freeze, as if time itself had stopped. Sidious would begin to laugh. "You have done well, Tyrannus," Sidious would cackle. "But your own ambition is your weakness." From within Sidious's chair, a button would reveal itself. "The physical alterations your pet has endured have made him nearly a match for you, Tyrannus, but it is the alteration to his mind that have sealed your fate." Sidious would then press the button, as Dooku stared puzzled by his master's actions. Grievous would suddenly begin to scream, a scream that sent chills down the very back of Count Dooku, master of the dark side of the Force. "I feel such pain," Grievous would bellow. "Such loss. Such anger." Grievous would stand, extending his remaining arm and grasping Dooku's neck with the force. Still screaming with agony, Grievous would squeeze with all of his might. Quick note here, just how it was in original continuity, along with his body, Grievous's mind was also changed to have his rage receptors enhanced. And since emotions such as rage fuel the dark side, Sidious has utilized them to automatically force Grievous to grow in power, not just enhancing his rage, but pain as well. Sidious would rise, circling the scene. "Unbeknownst to your master, I had my own work done based on many of his designs. In addition to your body, I have chosen to enhance your rage and pain receptors upon my sole command. Emotions that are ruled by the dark side of the Force. You now command a power few have ever felt, or know. You now comprehend all-encompassing hatred and pain. And more than that, I hold the keys to them, Dooku would now begin to make noises that did not sound human, as blood spat from his mouth. Grievous too would begin to feel the warmth of blood, as his eyes would slowly begin to ooze, his body subject to such pain that it is indescribable. "Finish it, my apprentice," Sidious would cackle, as all fell silent. With one last scream, Grievous would close his hand into a fist, as Dooku's body fell. Switching another button, Grievous too would fall, landing next to the now lifeless corpse of Dooku. "I am proud of you, my apprentice," Sidious would hiss. Bending down, Sidious would ask, "Do you know what I have done, what I have?" The word "no" is all Grievous could muster. "Because the Sith betray. Dooku would always have betrayed me if given the chance. The Sith are creatures of betrayal, but not you, Grievous. Do you know why? Because now you have seen me for what I am. I am the holder of your very life. I control everything about you, Grievous. And through you, I hold all the keys to the dark side at my fingertips. You are truly my slave. For now, you are even my apprentice, until a time may come when you must face another for that honor. Until then, though, as your master before you, you have done well." Sidious, without another word, would leave the room, as a still distraught Grievous lost consciousness. If you would like to join me in the daily Star Wars discussion and debates, follow me on Twitter at @stupendousswave. Link will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video and feel it deserves it, it would really help me out if you could leave a like. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news, explanations, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. If you have any video topics you would like to see addressed in a future video, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments below the video, or again, tweet them at me. As always, your viewership and support means the world. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.